Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby, here with Andrew Samonsky, one of the stars of the new Broadway musical Lempicka. And you're playing Tadeusz, Tamara de Lempicka's husband. And this musical just covers so much history with them, years and years of their marriage. How important was it for you to like do your own research? How much helpful information was out there on him, and like what type of information was helpful to you?
Well, the first thing I want to do is congratulate you on saying his name correctly. Most people don't. I sure didn't know how to say it at first. Yeah, Tadeusz Lempicki. Um, the wild thing is there's just really not a lot known about him. Um, the most I could gather was honestly from Tamara's great granddaughter, Marissa, who has been around. She's one of our co-producers, but I met her back during our production in Williamstown 6 years ago, and just kind of hearing her talk about Lempicka talking about Tadeusz was really fascinating. I mean, they clearly had a really strong connection. He clearly weathered a very turbulent marriage, as did she with him. But no, there's not a lot of like historical information about him, and which is good and bad. Good in the sense that I can kind of get to add my own sense of him and take, I guess, perhaps some liberties just because we don't know everything about him. But yeah, they were together for a long time, considering the turbulence and chaotic history that they lived through, which I think means something, and we explore that in the show for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I think there's sort of like the tragic component of it is that they start out as nobles
Mm.
and he loses that title, but Tamara seems to be able to kind of easily fall into a new role and remake herself, whereas Tadeusz really has, it feels like he has trouble as his wife starts to rise. Um, can you just talk about charting that kind of journey and that character arc for him?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Essentially, he's a man stuck in time, right? He All of his identity is linked to his past, to his land, to his home where he grew up, to this aristocratic life that he knew, that he feels he deserved,
Mhm.
and so when it's all taken away from him, his identity is taken away from him, and he doesn't know how to find a new one. And I think it's interesting. I mean, I think in some sense, we all kind of struggle with that as we grow and get older, and especially in a world changing as fast as it is right now. How do we move with it, or do we resist it? And that's really kind of the struggle for Tadeusz. Is he going to move with his wife in this changing world, this art world, this political world, this world at war? Um, or is he going to just live in the past and this nostalgia of the good life that he thinks he had and thinks he should still deserve? So um, it's really a beautiful kind of journey that I get to kind of have with him. Um, Ultimately, we'll see if he succeeds or fails if he comes see the show. So maybe a little bit of both, probably. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned too the Williamstown production because you've been tied to this role for many years now. What is it like? It seems like such a great opportunity as an actor. Does it feel like the role, the songs have been shaped a little bit to you and what you're bringing to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest compliment I got was, I mean, I knew nothing about the show, and I was wildly just offered the part in Williamstown. I think they were just looking for a last minute replacement, and they're like, let's try this guy. And I showed up, and we did the read through, and it was something clicked for them, and they're like, oh, this is the guy. And I mean, it's very flattering, but to that point, you know, because of that, they all started kind of shaping it around me. And I mean, even Matt Gould, our composer, I don't know how many times he always will just not yell at me, but like if I'm struggling with like this or that about the character, he'd be Andrew, he's you, and and I think Tadeusz and I do share some characteristics. but but just that sense that they see Tadeusz in me so much, or vice versa, is really flattering. And so I've been able to you know have a lot of liberty with my thoughts about the character. And I've never quite had that that specific of an experience with show, um, where I get to really be so uh, tied to a character. So yeah, I mean he's evolved a lot. I mean there have been obviously incarnations. We did Williamstown, then we did La Jolla, and now we're here. And I think honestly, this Broadway production is honestly kind of the best of both productions. We've taken the best of La Jolla, the best of Williamstown, melded them together, evolved it even more. It's really exciting. I've never been with a project so long either. So it's an actor's dream to really put your fingerprint on it. And I feel really great about the work, but also for the creative team to feel so excited about my work has been a real honor too.
Yeah. You've known Matt Gould for quite some time, I think. Is that, is he the one who gave you the offer for this?
The way the story goes is, I think they needed someone last minute, and they kind of gave the team a list of 5 men who they thought could do it. And he looked at, he was like, no, 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 I don't know him. Let's try him. And that was me. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. I mean, there is a crazy story that I have told before where my best friend from college went into the Peace Corps in Mauritania, Africa, and we were pen pals while he was there, and he wrote me a note saying that there was this Peace Corps volunteer who wrote musicals, and I need to keep my eye out for him. He's really great. And that man was Matt Gould. And so the first day of rehearsal in Williamstown, I went up to him and told him my best friend, who my best friend from college was, and his jaw dropped on the floor. And we've had this cosmic connection ever since. I mean, literally small world.
Mhm.
Crossing continents. So yeah, we've had a connection, and luckily, when I showed up, like I said, they liked me in the role. So I mean, we could have had this connection and be like, no, he's terrible. Like, we can replace him. But no, luckily, it all aligned, and yeah, it's been a wild kind of story there.
Yeah. And I'm sure during that time there's always in the development of a musical many changes, edits. What happens, how do you navigate like getting a last minute change if, the director or one of the writers say we have a new line, we have a new scene, new song, and you've already put this song into your head. How do you navigate those sudden changes?
Well, I'll tell you, because just this last week, uh, I have a solo in the show that we've been rehearsing and developing for 9 weeks, and performed it again on Monday. And on Tuesday, they said we would like to give you a whole new solo. Now, luckily, it was my old solo from La Jolla and Williamstown. Essentially, there were some new lyrics, new bridge, a new version of it, but La Jolla was 2 years ago, and I thought, oh, okay, we're gonna put in a whole new solo, and we rehearsed it all that day. We teched it, cramming the lyrics of the bridge. I performed it, luckily, well, correctly. I should say well. I should say correctly that night. We tried it again with a different bridge the next night. Did it again, and and ultimately, after even those 2 nights, we were like, you know what? I don't. I think the original solo we had for you was correct, and I agreed. And so that was Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday we went back to my original solo. I mean, luckily I knew this song, and the old solo was in 7/4, which is a very difficult meter to sing in or to perform in. It's very unusual and hard to feel. But um, yeah, it was a stressful few days, and luckily we went back to the original solo, which I think is absolutely the right decision. But that cortisol kind of is up there for about 72 hours, and then it kind of flushes through your body, and you're like, okay, got through that. But every day has been changes, scene shifts, line changes. additions, everything has been for the better. But previews is where you really sweat it out and have to be on your A game. But it also keeps it exciting, keeps it fresh. Keeps you very focused during the show for sure. So, but yeah, it was a wild week for sure.
Yeah, well, hats off to you for managing those. I think you also have a lot of really exciting scenes of songs with Eden Espinosa, who plays
Hmm.
Lempicka, and she has long established herself as one of the Broadway belters. And there are moments in this where you two are basically having a sing-off. It's really powerful. What is it like sharing a moment like that with her?
Well, the first thing is she's just a great person. She's so easy to work with. She's kind, she's thoughtful, she's generous, and a terrific actor and singer. So, I mean, for us, it's always just been the truth of the relationship. Just finding the honesty in that complicated marriage. The singing. I mean, for me, it's just the thrill. To have Eden Espinosa like singing in my face. To all of this cast. I mean, it's a cast of huge voices and big singing and
Mhm.
exciting music. So it's really thrilling. But my job is to kind of just stay in the truth of what we're doing and hopefully hit my high notes as well because I certainly have a few of them as well. I would never say I'm in a sing off with Eden Espinosa because I will always lose that sing off. I definitely just try to keep in my lane and do my part for sure.
I mean, I think you both have a lot of like great big singing moments in this for sure. It made me think of if you'll indulge me for a little history for a moment, because
Sure.
you have a past of great duets like that. Like I was thinking of Hunchback of Notre Dame, where you're there
Mm.
with Ciara Renee. And because I am a nerd about that show, and I wish it was here in New York for a really long life, uh, is there like a favorite moment from that experience that you carry with you that had a lot of big singing in it too?
Yeah, you know what? I love that question because what pops to mind is we're in rehearsals at New 42 in New York before we went to do Hunchback in San Diego, and uh, and we're kind of going through I forget what the song section was called, but it's near the end where Phoebus is kind of escaped from prison and is kind of rallying the troops. And there was this line about you know, come fight for this and that, and it was just too low in my voice for kind of the bigness of the moment. And we're all sitting around, and Alan Menken is sitting there, and he's just like, "Oh no, that doesn't sound right. I'm gonna write you a new line, Andrew. Like your voice can do this, right?" And he puts it up like I don't know, fifth or whatever it was, much higher, and you just start singing this new melody for basically for me, and then I sing it, and he's like, "That's it, love that." And it was really kind of my most exciting line in the show to sing, but to have Alan Menken like sit there and write the line for you, um, 8-time Oscar winner. You don't forget those moments. So
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. But you have too, I think a lot of your career has those kind of like grand, like lush
yeah.
scores to them, like Lempicka included, has this very kind of like lofty, grand singing to it. Is that a style that you've always gravitated towards? Like, what has your journey been vocally for that?
Yeah, I got an undergraduate degree in classical voice, and I thought I was going to be an opera singer, or at least I planned on being an opera singer. And through the course of my time in undergrad, uh, I did well and I had a decent voice, but there was just something too restrictive about the art form for me. And I looked over at the drama department, and all of us, like opera students, were wearing like suits and like slacks and recitals, and like, and they were just in jeans and t-shirts and like having a good time. And I was like, that looks way more fun. And so I started dabbling in some of the acting classes and did some of the musicals over there. And I was like, I like this so much more. And I realized I had to kind of learn how to act. So I went to graduate school for acting, and at that school, a teacher by the name of Marana Delaney, who is still my voice teacher, said, "I think you're a tenor," because I was a very low baritone at the time, and I thought she was crazy. And we would use Younger Than Springtime from South Pacific to work on my high notes.
Wow.
Cue to whatever, 5 years later, I am singing that song on Broadway as Lieutenant Cable. I mean, and so kind of so melding kind of the power and technique of classical singing with kind of the new pop stylings of today, I think has given me, put me perfectly in a Matt Gould musical. So yeah,
Well, it's great. The high notes are sounding great in this musical. So congratulations on some great work in Lempicka. And for everyone out there watching, make sure you subscribe to Gold Derby. Stay with us this season. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
that was a pleasure. Thank you.